Happy Friday! It's Friday! It's Friday! We did it! We made it together! We made it through. Dan Murrell is here.
Hello.
Spencer Gilbert.
Happy Friday, Roth.
The beautiful, the wonderful, the extraordinary, the intelligent, the talented, the phenomenal, the funny, and the smart Roxy Striar.
I guess she likes me best.
I like you a lot.
I like you a lot, babe.
Can I
It's
tell you
not
a
my
secret?
birthday, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Your
sorry. I
birthday?
thought there was an opening there. I apologize. I misread that movie.
No, we were talking about how I like her the best.
Yes.
But it's also not your birthday.
Yeah,
That
no,
is
I was
true.
saying it's not my birthday. There seems to be a thing in the chat. People think it's my birthday. It's not
Oh,
my
wait,
birthday.
really? Is that
It's
an
very,
actual
It's very
thing?
kind
Yeah.
of you, but it's not my birthday. Thank
Oh,
you,
it's
though.
not Dan's birthday. But you know what? Every day we celebrate Dan's participation in our life and
Maybe
our
it's
video.
one of those kid things, like when they call people dad, you know?
I don't get
Like,
it.
you're a snack.
For anyone that has just
Like a
joined
fake
us
birthday?
for the first time and you clicked on this because you saw Aquaman trailer reaction, welcome. We welcome you and we hope that you enjoyed the shenanigans. We are going to talk about that.
Yes, we will.
Aquaman extended preview out of New York Comic Con just hit the interwebs today. Just right now. We have the freshest of fresh takes. I literally just watched it. Spencer Gilbert,
Yeah.
are you more or less on board with the Aquaman?
Well, I guess I'm more on board because the first trailer kind of went through me like Taco Bell. It just like didn't leave much of an impression. And this one, I now feel like I have like kind of a take on what the film's going to be. So that automatically is an
Is it a
improvement.
solid take? That's my second poo joke.
Nice.
2
That
days.
was an awesome shot. I like that they made the costume look cool.
I don't get your analogy. Does Taco Bell not affect you at all?
It
No,
just goes quick.
right through
It goes
you.
like real
He's
quick.
saying it makes you poop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but wouldn't you, like bad poop though? Like
Yeah, you're right. But you want to forget about it.
right, Dan?
But the
Sure.
I'll say
Happy
this.
birthday.
We're
Yes,
gonna move away
and-
from the poop
Yeah, let's
analogies when it
move
comes
quickly.
to.
Let's move briskly past that. Swim past it. I really liked the Arthur Curry stuff. I really think Momoa is a delight, and getting serious Chris Hemsworth vibes and Thor vibes, both in the pro and the con, because I thought the characterization, they nailed it, and I was like really excited to go on this journey with him. But man, that's a lot of CGI for me to swallow personally. It was just so, like when you got seahorses charging
Yes.
at dolphins and stuff
Yes.
like that. Okay, well for you, yes. For me, it's
Ride
like,
that shark.
yeah, I don't know. It just like it's Avatar, but I am encouraged that the characterization they nailed, and that could take me through the CGI. That looks like StarCraft. Like that's not a movie, but but fine. And I do like the character beats.
Well, generally speaking, we've seen come out of Warner Brothers, like it hasn't been my favorite effects. I'll confess. It does tend to look very video gamey,
Yeah.
and sort of take me out of the reality. That said, I feel like seeing Atlantis come to life, and that it's this underwater fantasy. It's not just a comic book movie. It's like sort of a comic book fantasy movie. I am hints of science fiction. I'm the minute in the first trailer that I saw them riding sharks and charging at each other, I was just completely sold with that experience because it's unlike any experience I've had with a comic book movie to date. So I don't know if it'll be good, but I'm there for it.
I completely agree with what you just said because the very least it's different, and I'm on board for that. I feel like this was exactly what we needed to see in order for people to be like, yeah, okay. All right, and I guess it didn't work on Spenny G as well as it worked on me, but I watched this and I have been feeling a little nervous about Aquaman recently. I'm feeling way less nervous about Shazam, but we have to get there first, and Aquaman, the first thing that we saw from it, I thought the technology looked okay. I thought the red hair was too red. I thought the water sequences looked a little strange to me. But this one, I really feel like they upped their game. And Dan, you were telling me that this is what actually they saw.
In San Diego, yeah, my take is a little less hot
Oh, you
because
were
this
in
is
that.
this is the exact reel that they showed at Comic-Con in San Diego. But so smartly they held that back, and now they're releasing it. So I think when you saw a lot of the buzz coming from people that were in Hall H, it was based off of this largely, which I agree. It shows a lot more of the scope and the scale of the film than the first trailer does. Obviously, because you have some extended scenes, you get a little bit more of the interplay between particularly Amber Heard and Jason Momoa. So, it'll be interesting to see now that everyone has seen this, if what the buzz on the film is, if it gets a little more intense, or if some people are kind of like Spencer, like I don't know, because I'm kind of straight down the middle. Like I'm not jumping out of my seat, but I think it looks different. I like the scale of it. I hope that doesn't overwhelm character and everything else. Like sometimes movies can get so massive that it just overwhelms everything else in the movie, and that's where I kind of tend to click my brain off a little bit in a bad way. But I do like a lot of what's in that footage. So, I just hope that once you see the whole picture that they do the kind of, obviously they've got a great image of the world. And I hope that they get the characterization and everything else right for the film. And that way it could be really good.
It feels mythic, yeah. I mean, that's what we've been looking for out of DC is to have it, well, Wonder Woman delivered that a bit, but that's what this really feels like to me, yeah?
Right.
Yeah, mythic, but I think Dan maybe touched on it. It's just when everything is epic, nothing is epic. When everything is just a massive CGI city full of millions of people, when everything is a massive CGI battle with thousands of clashing armies, then it's like, where's the specialness? This was my favorite sequence because you can tell what's happening. It's like a very clear action sequence, and you get a sense of motion and of gravity in it. Whereas like when it's just so many things on screen crashing into each other, it just doesn't do it for me. So maybe this just isn't for me, but I think on the whole, there's a lot of things I'm excited about.
I think it's a different kind of movie, like how some movies there's one death scene and you're like, that was really powerful, and then there's John Wick where you're desensitized and I don't know, maybe 567 people died, and it's like, yep.
But it's real. But it's real. But they're really doing that, and your eye, I think, can tell.
But I think in some movies there's one epic setting or backdrop, whatever, and it really does stand out. And sometimes in movies it's the whole world, and this is bringing us into a whole different world. So even if you're not every second like, whoa, because it's all so amazing, I want to be in a different world. This is Aquaman. We need to go somewhere else. If this was just like, that part's fine. Oh, but that part's great. That would be strange because we've got an underwater situation.
Yeah, I think too, we all just probably have biases in terms of the types of fantasies that we like. Yeah. And I just happen to enjoy underwater business. I like, that's it. Like I like the idea of Atlantis. I like the idea of these aren't, mer people in the sense of the Little Mermaid, but like all of that and utilizing that world, which was right here for us. It's most of the earth, and yet it's so forbidden and it's so unknown for most of us. We're not James Cameron, and we don't build things to go to the bottom of the Marianas Trench, that I feel like it invites me into a very different experience. I don't know ultimately how it will play out in terms of the balance of that immersion and if it's a character that I like.
If this movie does work, I will accept it as final vindication that my idea for a Sequest DSV movie was a good idea, Spencer.
Nobody cares about Sequest, Dan. It's Star Trek Underwater, and Star Trek's better.
And it's Star Trek Underwater.
I care about Star Trek Underwater. I'm
too.
sold on that pitch.
This has been pitched, Aquaman, as Star Wars Underwater. First it was Indiana Jones Underwater, now it's Star Wars Underwater. How do you guys feel about that?
What? Who's saying that?
Like a lot of the different people who worked on the film have said it's come out like...
I mean, it's the elephant in the room. This is Thor underwater.
Yeah, it's Thor
underwater.
Like
he's the broy heir to the throne who needs a magical weapon that he needs to be worthy of.
Who's like the prodigal son who isn't living up to his full, for different reasons in this case, has to come back and claim his throne against a brother. Yeah, it's Thor.
Mm-hmm. It does feel like Amber Heard has a lot more to do than Natalie Portman, though.
Fair.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like a ton more.
See, in my head, I thought it was reverse Black Panther. It's a highly technical hidden society. But instead of the good guy being on the throne and then somebody else coming in to take it, it's like the wrong guy's on the throne and the good guy has to come in and take it. So that's what.
And look, Aquaman obviously, I'm pretty sure predates both those characters, but Marvel made the movies first.
Yeah. No, it's all myth. It's not. Yeah, I'm not saying they're ripping it off. It's just.
And Atlantis and Asgard are.
Stan Lee invented
yeah, exactly.
Atlantis.
I mean, that's the thing is like Atlantis and Norse mythology existed before either of these comic books did. That said, I always kind of think it's I get the probably the impulse for people that are writing press notes and doing PR to sit there and like figure out how do we sell this in a mashup of two other things that you like. But I always think it's such a mistake.
Because it's expectations from people that are not reachable.
Yeah, it sets unreachable expectations, and also now my mind is geared to think about what Star Wars is or is not versus just allowing this to be. I mean, it's like riding sharks underwater. You're good. I'm good. You had me at shark fin. Eric, we do have some fan questions today. It's Fan Friday.
Woo!
Woo, woo, Fan Friday, go,
Do we have
Fan
the
Friday.
we don't have the thing?
JT doesn't know yet.
JT
Yeah,
doesn't
he'll
know.
cue it up.
That's right. Half Molly was gone.
It happened while you were gone.
I'll just
We
sing it
missed
for you guys live. It's a great performance. Ready?
Well-
And then Spencer, you get up
Oh,
from the
Oh,
There
there
it
we go.
goes.
Woo!
Where'd that video come? Is
I
that
don't
the
know where
serious
that
questions?
came from. Yeah.
It must be. It must be.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Serious
Oh,
questions.
serious questions.
We don't even know our own things.
Oh, there it is
Oh,
again.
it's here to come good.
Yeah,
You
just
missed it
loop
the
that.
first time. You get
I
it
gotta
twice.
hear my-
I'm doing like a Zoidberg impression.
We either have multiple of the same graphic or no graphics.
Never
It's
do
good.
anything in front of a green screen that you don't want put in front of literally anything else.
That's a
Yeah.
good
I
lesson.
learned that the hard
Yeah.
way.
I am in big trouble.
Eric wants to know, it was my turn to pick the comedy for movie night. I went with Logan Lucky. They all fell asleep.
Aw.
What's a film you were excited to watch with a friend only to have them not enjoy it? Oh, so many.
All of them.
Really?
All of the movies that I
All of
like.
the
that
movies?
every time I'm like, no, guys, you gotta see this. Like, and then people watch and they're like, that's not good. And I'm like, right. That's what my colleagues tell me too. Just checking. I mean, Amazing Spider-Man 2, like, I was pretty yoked on this. Do
Who
you want to
did you
call it
do
a
that
comedy?
to?
All the people. I love that
Did you
movie.
do that to your family?
Yeah, everybody.
Don't you know I'm Electro?
One time I was dating somebody and I played Princess Bride and they were like, what is this crap? And I was like, ooh, see, I actually have
Oh,
validation
they're a
on this
monster,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, they're a
That's
monster.
pretty bad.
That's on them.
Yeah, that's on
Yeah,
you
that's
for sure.
100% on them. How about you?
I'm trying to think of any that just people were not buying into.
I
Nothing
feel
comes
like
to mind.
I try to do a lot of sort of classic films, and I can kind of understand why that's not everybody's cup of tea always. So that can be a miss sometimes if it's something that I really loved. Like there's this movie High Society, which is the musical version of Philadelphia Story that I love, and it's just a really light musical. It's got Frank Sinatra in it, and it's fabulous. But it is not certainly my everyone's cup of tea. If they like things like hardcore horror movies and things like that, they may not be super on board for a whimsical musical from the 50s.
Yeah.
Musicals
That's
are
typically
tough.
where I'll have a miss.
Yeah, when you're trying to show your friends musicals, that and a lot of people just like have a
Shut
weird
down.
thing about musicals
Yeah.
that they don't want to see, and I'm like, no, but this one,
Yeah.
and they're not buying it.
I had an ex that I knew didn't like science fiction, but I thought I could like make some inroads with The Fifth Element just because it's like so weird and
Yeah.
like and ridiculous and silly, and like we had to turn it off about 15 minutes in.
Only 15 minutes
Yeah,
in?
it's just like no, not for
Do you know
me.
how many times I've seen that movie?
Many.
Many times. Oh, she should have given it a look. Come on. I guess it doesn't matter. You
Yeah, it
found the
doesn't
right
matter.
one.
Why she's an ex.
How about you? You already said everything.
I've got more.
You've got so many more. All right, that's a good question. Andrew wants to know, I had a stressful week between a midterm and first draft of my paper. Sorry to hear that, Andrew. And would you please cheer me up with your favorite comedic scenes from any movie? Do you mean by telling you what our scenes are or reenacting the scenes?
Oh, wow.
Telling.
Whatever they mean.
Let-
we're
I'm
gonna-
going to interpret
Yeah,
it
Roth's choice, I
how
guess.
I did,
Telling.
which was that you should reenact it, Spencer.
Well, give me some time to think of one.
Okay.
I mean, nothing springs to mind.
I can't reenact it, but because I could, but you wouldn't know what I was doing. It kind of would look like this. Any of the LARPing scenes and role models, like, get me. I just start crying so hard because they're ridiculous and like, yeah, I love that kind of stuff. It like combines my nerd and comedic passion, and role models is the funniest. Why is everybody so upset that I just said that? You guys don't like
know.
that?
I love it. We're just
it was
our
great. I
gears
think
are
we were
turning.
all trying to
Trying to think of your
like,
own.
I
Nobody's
can't
listening
think
to
of
us anymore.
I can't think of a scene.
Gonna give the super boring answer, which is it's because nobody thinks of these. Go back to Buster Keaton. Like it holds up. I know they're old.
does.
Go watch Sherlock Jr. That's a hilarious movie. Buster Keaton's hilarious. Or Modern Times with Charlie Chaplin. Those are great physical comedy.
You can do a little of this.
I can, but I'm not going to. You can watch.
That was a terrible Chaplin.
You can watch a Marx Brothers movie if you want just like writing. Like, oh my God, like the writing in those films is so sharp and still funny. I know people, oh, they're so old and dated. Like, they're not. They're really, really not. Most of them.
Isn't there? There's a movie coming out. There's a doc coming out about Buster Keaton, isn't there?
I don't.
I believe there is. There's a doc about Buster Keaton this year, which everybody should watch because it's Buster Keaton.
Young Frankenstein is my
I
favorite
was
Mel
gonna
Brooks
say
movie.
Young Frankenstein.
Give him the
Dun, dun, dun,
set a give. Like there's so much in that movie that I think is hilarious.
I was gonna say anything from The Jerk.
The
just
Jerk.
just do movie clips of The Jerk, and why does he hate these cans?
Shooting at the cans.
We're kind of reenacting. Look
Yeah,
at us.
look at us.
Well, I mean, I think with like little tiny moments, yeah. Yeah, I love Young Frankenstein. If you haven't seen it, that's my favorite as well. Most people will say Blazing Saddles, which is fair.
Same
probably,
here.
wouldn't you say Blazing
Sure,
Saddles
yeah.
is your favorite?
Oh, my favorite? I mean, sure, it's up there. As far as like just picking scenes out of a
Scenes
movie,
from a
as
movie?
opposed to a whole thing.
Yeah.
It's can't go wrong.
It's got many scenes.
Yeah.
It's a film.
Many movies do have many.
It's a film with many scenes.
Film with many scenes.
Summa cum laude.
That's what you
Came
should
out
say
the
when
same-
you
they
don't
came
like
out
the
the same
movie.
year, Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles, 1974.
Did they really?
Yeah, Mel Brooks made
Yeah.
Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein the
bananas.
same year. That's insane.
That's bananas. God, that's a no. You know when people are so talented that
Yeah.
you're just kind of like, Urgh.
What's that director that made Gone with the Wind and was Roz the same year? Or
Well,
Gone with the
Victor
Wind had
Fleming-
Victor Fleming
yeah,
was
they
one of
both
the
had
three
multiple
directors
directors,
on. Yeah.
I still think it's impressive.
Victor Fleming, there were three directors on Gone with the Wind. He was one of them, but it was producer David O. Selznick's movie, period. All right. So, Maddie, we just went on a weird, rabbit hole of
Film history.
film history. That
Nicely
was
done.
fun. I liked it. Maddie says, what's your favorite DVD audio commentary? For me, it's between Jack Davenport and Keira Knightley's commentary for the Pirates movie and Gary Marshall's commentary for the Princess Diaries. All right.
Okay. I wonder why. I haven't heard those. I like Armageddon. I like Ben Affleck on Armageddon.
That's right.
Because he is he's in on how ridiculous this movie is. He knows exactly what's happening on screen, and he's like, just so many gems of like, I asked Michael one day, why they bothered training oil drillers to be astronauts rather than telling
Yes,
astronauts to be oil
astronauts to be-
drillers. And he told me, do I get one curse, Billy?
Yeah, sure.
He told me to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, that's true.
So he has just so many good, amusing gems of what it's like to work on a Michael Bay movie that the Armageddon commentary makes a ridiculous movie even more entertaining.
He starts riffing on Bruce Willis. It's like the part where it's like, yeah, they may be smart, but they don't know jack about drilling. And it's like, don't know jack about drilling.
What does that
How
even
easy could
mean?
it be?
You just
Point it
drill
at
a
the
hole.
ground and turn it on. Like he's just literally ripping the movie apart during the commentary. It's pretty amazing. I've heard. I haven't seen it, but I've heard the first Twilight commentary that Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart are similarly just like what
Kind
is
of
this?
ripping
What are
apart
we
the
doing?
movie.
What are we doing?
Hey, he was the one that came up with the spider monkey moment. That was on him. That's on you, Robert. So they gave him 4 different options, and that's the one he chose. I kind of made a face because sometimes these questions are hard to think of off the cuff. But so the one that's weirdly, I feel like I should have such a highbrow answer to this, but the one that's weirdly popping into my head is Love Actually, because similarly Hugh Grant is just taking the piss the entire time, and does not care at all. And I actually love Love Actually, but there's something an additive quality of light enjoyment to that. And I can't really think of another one at the moment. How about you?
I have none, but Billy had a good one that he could share. He has no headset.
He has no
You guys will
headset
have to
today.
You guys will have to just see him tweet about it.
So we'll talk about. So Peanut 2008 said, should Marvel skip releasing any trailers for the next Avengers to help avoid spoilers? They already have my money. No need for a spoilery trailer.
Should
I think they should. I think they should release one trailer and that's it. They won't though. That'll never happen.
Yeah, trailers aren't for fans. I mean, they are, but they aren't. Trailers are to get casual people to know that the movie's coming out and to get invested in it. They're not for us. Mm-hmm. So close your eyes when it comes out.
Because we live in LA, billboards and flyers and vans with paintings on them and all that stuff, it's hard to avoid even without trailers, knowing when movies are coming out. But there's the majority of places in the country, trailers
In the
are
world.
in the world. Trailers are it. So they wouldn't do this. That being said, I would like to close my eyes during the trailers because I'm sold already. I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, we're all going to see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that there is something to that. I do wonder if their marketing strategy will be different on this one than it has been previously. We'll find out after this weekend. They're supposed to have a big presence, aren't they, at New York?
I don't know. New York Comic Con's always so weird. You never
So
know what's
weird.
going to come out of it until it does, and you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. I think it's because we're here and they're in New York. That's probably what they think about San Diego. Yeah, it's just like, imagine seeing that Captain America moment where he catches the fist like for the first time in the theater, which some people did, but a lot of people saw that in the trailer. I get why you have to do one trailer. I don't get why you have to do three. And it seems like every movie does three. And then there's movies like Roth and I, and our spoiler review for Venom, I want to go into this, but Venom, for example, I think the marketing not only had too many trailers, I think the marketing did the film a disservice by presenting a movie, by number one, presenting a movie that's not what it was, and number two, revealing scenes out of context to the film that diminish the viewing experience of the film and misrepresent the movie. So a lot of times I think the marketing can work against a film if people aren't doing it properly. So yeah, I don't know. I guess trailers are a necessity, but I don't know why you have to do four of them.
I think the campaign for the Meg was great, right?
That's a good campaign.
And it was like a very entertaining campaign that I think helped sell that movie. Of course, the movie wasn't nearly as fun as the campaign, sadly. But I thought that was a really good one.
Yeah.
And it didn't sort of give away too much. There wasn't that much to give away, but it didn't give away too much. And I agree, Venom, the marketing really didn't do the movie any favors. That said, it's still set to do pretty well this weekend.
But I see their point on this movie because it's so inherently spoilery, because if you show anyone that got dusted, then that's a spoiler, right?
Yeah.
So maybe they do something like the trailer for Face Off, where it starts with Castor Troy, and then it spins around, and by the end it gets back, and it's God, I can't remember the other one's name. Nick Cage.
Nick Cage, yeah.
Sure.
If they shoot like custom trailers that aren't really parts of the movie, like it's just a monologue from Thanos or something like that, and a gauntlet, that'd be great.
Well, or it could just be Thanos wandering around the desert
Farming.
planet, playing a saxophone.
Yes.
There are a lot of cool
Sadly.
things you could do with that, actually, though, because
His saxophone?
Yeah.
I was more thinking like a monologue from him, because if he in the trailer,
Yeah.
just like a quick little teaser.
Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be. You're right. I think this one is going to be very complicated for them to cut together and figure out. But I'm sure Disney has a plan.
I miss custom trailers.
Yeah.
Like that was a big thing back in the 80s, like the trailer, and 90s that was just like only things made for the trailer. Jason Takes Manhattan, we just watched last night. The trailer for that was a custom trailer. It was all just Jason standing in
much
front of
did
the
you love
skyline.
it?
I mean, it's a terrible
It is
movie.
so bad. It's amazing.
But it's a special kind of terrible. But yeah, I miss that. I mean, that's a way to sell a movie if it's obvious.
Yeah. I mean, Jason Takes Manhattan has a real special place in my heart, if I'm honest, you guys. So we will do this one final question, which is Hope asks, what are some ways non-creative people, i.e. people who don't write, act, or direct, can find a place within the entertainment industry? Would the only place be on the business side of things? Your thoughts? No, not at all. There's a million different places. First of all, everybody's creative. That is a lie to say that some people are creative and others are not. Everyone is creative. You're just creative in the way that you're creative. Maybe you're creative in the way that you think about math. Maybe you're creative in the way that you decorate your home, but you are definitely a creative being.
Ryan
That's A.
really liked what you just said. You got him like a hardcore nodding.
Well, it's true. Secondarily to that, there are so many different jobs in this business that we don't even know about or experience. But there are technical jobs on sets. So there are things like gaffers and electricians that are very necessary, dangerous. And there are there's producers, there's creative producers, and then there's line producers who really do handle more of the business side of things. But they also get to be really heavily involved in the sets. There are ADs, that's the assistant director. The assistant director is not the assistant to director, they manage the set. So they're basically like, exactly. So if you think of it like someone who's a restaurant manager in a way, they manage everything that happens on the set. And they are creative in their own way, but it's largely a managerial job.
There's also agents and managers.
Publicity,
assistants to everybody.
And publicists get a lot of times if you're a great publicist, you get the movie star lifestyle without having to deal with the paparazzi and all that stuff, because you go where they go, you I think, probably stay where they stay. You know,
But you also
get to
have
do the
to
travel.
manage them all the time.
Yeah, you have to
I mean,
manage
you're at
them.
the
So
You're
parties,
like
but
at
you're
the parties,
working.
but you're working.
I'm not saying it's being a
you
movie
have to deal
star,
with the
but
actors.
You get to have fun.
Assistants,
at
money
least.
people.
I would suggest, in a very real way, that unless you're dealing with actors as a director, or like for us, where it's like very low touch, like we talk to them for a few minutes and then we go on our own way, like don't. You know, not
depends
because
on the
all
actor.
it depends on the person, but a publicist job is not one I would ever want, because you're just managing fallout all the time. You're always trying to protect someone's reputation. Everything is about fear and anxiety and expectations. That's not one I would suggest, except for the studio publicists.
Yeah. I feel like if you're Tom Hanks' publicist or Hugh
You
Jackman's,
probably
your
are.
life is probably a little easier than if you're,
Bruce Willis's.
Bruce Willis's
Yeah.
or someone else's.
Or someone else who
hard.
has like a lot of needs. But studio publicists have to low touch deal with the talent, but not in the way that personal publicists do. So if I'm Spencer's personal publicist, I'm worried about his career.
Yeah.
If I'm a studio publicist, I'm worried about the movie that he's a part of. I'm assuming Spencer is the one that's successful enough to need a publicist.
Thank you, Roth. I would recommend being somebody's assistant, like a producer or a director or a writer or something like that, because then you can just get an overview of every piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
I was an assistant to. I was not an assistant director. I was assistant to a director on a TV show, and that was a great. It was a couple years in LA, but that was a great learning opportunity for me, because when you're assisting somebody that's a director, then that means you interact with literally every single department. You're talking to the ADs, you're talking to makeup, because they all need to talk to the director, and that's a great way to sort of interact and be able to be on a set, but not be constantly caught up in, because when you're someone's assistant, sometimes they're working and you're just kind of hanging out waiting for them to need something.
All you
So
need to
get
know how to
watch
do is
and-
just like take notes and phone calls and stuff
Yeah.
like that. You don't need to
Roll
be
calls.
pitching ideas or anything creative.
You definitely do get a good sense of like how a set runs, what every job entails, and it is a good way to sort of weed out what you
don't
like,
wanna
what you
do.
don't want to do, or just to know how things work, which is a great advantage to just know how things run. If you're interested in a non-front facing role, something behind the scenes, it's a great way to do it.
Yeah, I did some second AD work on a few different things. And quickly realized that was not something I wanted to do. With being an AD, I was like, I'm gonna have a heart attack.
The good folk, the ones that aren't mean, because there's some mean people in every profession, but I think the people that have a real passion for the profession, even down to a production assistant level, like if you show an aptitude for it, in the sense that like a lot of PAs aren't very good because they just want an easy day's work, but I think if you show an aptitude for it, there are a lot of people that will sort of, if they have time and you have time, take you under their wing, and because you're interested in what they do. If most people, if you show an interest in what they do for a living, they will be open to that and say like, oh yeah, let me show you this, let me show you that. Some people don't, but that's just because they're meanies and they're gruff.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true in any part of the industry. But also, I just thought of the one that I think is potentially the most fun, which is acquisitions, because I guess it's somewhat creative in the sense that you have to have a sensibility about films, but it's your job to identify movies and acquire them. So that means your job is to watch movies and interact with the talent, but in a way that largely they want something from you. So they're not mean about it. And sometimes you want something from them, and it's a negotiation. But yeah, it's your job to go around and find films. That for me, I did that very briefly around documentary, and that was really, really fun. So acquisitions, I think, is a cool one to investigate.
Yeah.
Product placement, like not being the person who's actually figuring out how to put it into the film, but the person who is connecting the companies that want their products placed in the actual films. It's not as creative, maybe.
Yeah. Well, that was a lot of answers for you. So yeah, I mean, the point is there's so many different thousands of people are making movies, and then once they're made, more people still are part of the process of getting them into the theaters, and then there's us who just sit here and talk about them. So that's also an option for you.
The tail end of the creative process, the rectum of creativity.
Yeah, like,
Is that what we're called?
Okay. Well,
We're the
it's
final
a little
step.
bit more than that, but okay.
We're the final step, is what I mean.
Yeah.
are we the rectum or what's coming out of the rectum is my question.
No, that's
I prefer
it
to think of
Taco
a critic's
Bell?
role
Or-
as someone who can help guide people towards things that maybe they don't know about. But that's just,
I think it's
that's
very.
me.
The reason I didn't talk about it, I think it's very creative what we do. I don't think you can not be creative and talk about things in a creative way. I mean, but all these things are kind of creative. All of them.
Yep.
Like event planning is creative in a different way for premieres and whatnot, and even like assisting the director or second ADing, like they're. But like you said, Roth, everybody has creativity somewhere.
And you do too. You have your own creativity. There's also the people that run the junkets, and they literally travel the world and just set up the junkets. It's a lot of work. They work really hard, but they travel all over the world. So there's just a million different things for you to think about and to embrace your own creativity, because you do have it, Hope. And this has been fun. Dan Murrell.
Yes.
Spencer Gilbert, Roxy, Striar. This weekend, A Star is Born is out, and I recommend it. Is that my review? Nope, I still have to do one later today. I have to write it up. We are going to have a spoiler review for Venom.
Yes.
Out this weekend. We will be talking
So
about
excited.
the things, and we want you to join us to talk about those things, including an after credits thing that made me go. Okay, bye. That's my bye. I'm doing my bye.
Like a wax on, wax off.